Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
Welcome back to Common Folk.
That's right, podcast for the people, by the people.
There we go.
Still on the tour.
Still in Crofton.
Yeah.
Crofton, episode 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to go chronologically?
Yeah, I think so.
Is that what they say?
Or I don't know. I guess it depends on how you put it out. Maybe this is episode 1 or 3 or
No,
something.
I like that. I think stories should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and just stay in that order.
Sounds good to me. Good to me. So we're in the Crofton Haymarket. If we put these out in that order, last week we were in the Pulley Museum. So now we're in the Haymarket, sitting out back on the patio, legendary patio.
Yes.
We got a little bit of smoke in the air. It's smelling good.
It does. Like if you weren't hungry, you're hungry now.
100%. I'm looking at, in front of me, a beautiful pizza oven. Looking forward to lunch.
Yeah, I can hear it crackling.
Yeah. Hear the sounds
real
and everything.
deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Doug, who we spoke with, and his wife are kind of getting something set up for us here today. So good deal. Having some fun out here. So this afternoon we're sitting down with Jeff and Jolene Steffen. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Awesome. It's a beautiful day.
It is.
Beautiful spring weather.
This is probably a needed but maybe not wanted break in the middle of planting season.
Well, we need to have forced breaks.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep everything in perspective.
Yep. How long have you been planting? When did you start?
Well,
I mean this year.
yeah, a third of our farm is to, early crops that we grow for seeds. So we've been planting since March 28th, probably.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff is up, but it's corn and beans this week.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
So local farmers, how long have you folks lived here?
We were married 41 years this year, so
Yeah.
I'm from Crofton. Lived here all my life.
Okay.
Do I have to say how old I am?
You
now?
don't have to.
Oh, okay.
But
I graduated from Crofton High School in 1980, and Jeff, nearby town, he went to Hardington Cedar Catholic and graduated in 79. So, but his address was Fordyce. I moved 11 miles away from where I grew up. So I have definitely always been from Crofton.
Nice.
so we've been on the same farm place for 41 years.
Wow.
Basically, yeah.
Is it family, was it passed down through generations, or you guys first?
No,
or?
we purchased it in the 80s during the farm crisis.
Okay.
So
Great time to get
we
in.
stayed home and worked for 10 years. So
Yeah.
Learned how to put it all together and work
Yeah.
hard and get it paid for. So, and we wouldn't change a thing looking
So
back.
yeah.
You mentioned, I'm just trying to put the timeline together. You mentioned graduating in 80.
Married in 84.
Okay. And then you guys bought the farm?
It was my brother and I. We purchased the farm
Okay.
probably like in 1982.
82.
Yeah,
82.
Yeah.
Okay.
and then it became a part of a family operation. And I still work with him, but this
Okay.
farm is ours.
Gotcha.
now.
Yep. Cool deal. What attracted you to that? I mean, how did you decide we're going to be farmers?
I grew up on a farm. He grew up on a farm.
Okay.
No, I wasn't
It's
sure
what we know.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do. It was my dream to live along a nice creek with wildlife and everything.
Yeah.
And then this came up, and
And our dream his dream came true, but we live along a creek with wildlife, meaning it's hard to raise a garden, trees,
Yeah.
crops with all the wildlife.
Right, yeah.
Entertaining it.
yeah,
So do you guys hunt then?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we consume our wildlife also.
Right on.
Yeah, we feel we deserve to eat a
Yeah.
little venison that
We
scrapes
have-
on our trees, and
Yeah, there's deer and turkey right on the place.
Yep.
A lot of times, and
we don't eat
Yeah.
the beaver or the.
well, they're
You know,
part of
the
the
coons.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
Wait, is that good? beaver?
No, I just
Can you eat
I
that?
just know we have a lot
We
of
haven't-
beaver along our creek
But
that
do
you know
people eat
gnaws a
that?
tree down when you plant it.
I mean, you can eat anything, but yeah.
I mean,
last night, we were down here last night, and they were talking about putting together some wild game feed or something, and somebody was specifically talking about bringing beaver.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Steve Ranella has eaten beaver.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you- if you watch
he
that.
has for sure. Yeah.
have you had that, Andy?
No.
But isn't there something with their tail too?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what
It
I
was-
heard.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I just know their pelts are very valuable. They used to be kind of the pinnacle of the fur trade.
And that's when I was a kid, and that was my spending money as we trapped
Yeah.
creeks.
Oh, nice.
For mink, muskrat, and beaver. And we still have all those fur bearers, within 100 yards of our house.
Wow.
We have all the major fur bearers yet.
Very cool.
Morgan,
Go
if you want to try beaver, just come on down and you guys can hunt.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just wonder how it's cooked. I mean,
don't know.
anything tastes like chicken, right? If you bread it.
They probably taste like
to Doug.
muddy
He would know.
water and
It's-
tree bark.
I'm sure it's a dark red.
Yeah.
Put them on some maple trees before,
Yeah.
like how you finish cattle.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned when you were a kid, trapping and those kinds of things. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys came up. You mentioned growing up around here. Is this where you were born and raised, or did you say Hardington? Or?
I'm 5 miles from where I grew up.
Okay.
But I was in the next school district,
Okay.
and so I went to school in Hardington. But yeah, right now we're living 5 miles from where I grew up.
Did your parents farm?
Yes, and the homesteaders that homesteaded this area is just down the road.
Okay.
Too. So
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of history
You're
there.
going to find a lot of Steffens in this area.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely a name I've heard before. Is there are you related to the auction group? Isn't there an auction group that's Steffen's?
Steffi's, you're probably
Oh,
thinking.
okay. Yeah, this must be something similar.
Yep.
Your guys' name is on the filling station, or it was.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, and is that a relative
A
of
distant
yours?
rel- yeah.
Distant- they all come from the homesteader.
Yeah.
If you look back, they had a big family, and so
It's
They
great
bailed
history.
me out one day. I had a flat tire on the gravel road right outside of town, and they helped me out and got me back. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So when you were growing up, and you said your family was farming, did you help with the family farm?
yes,
You when you were a kid, and did you enjoy it, or did you just want to get away from it, or what was the thought for you?
I enjoyed it. I didn't know if there was going to be a place for me.
Uh-huh.
I went to college for industrial business management, and I thought that would probably be the path I would take. But this opportunity came up. This farm came for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And timing is everything. It
Yeah.
happened to be the wrong timing, but we made it work.
Where'd you go to school? College?
Wayne State College,
Okay.
Wayne, Nebraska.
Wildcats.
Yes,
So
I played a little football there, and
All right.
too.
What did you immediately come back home after college, or did you do something else?
I met Jolene the second year I was
Okay.
in college, so then I was home a lot after that, and I was engaged. We were engaged before I was out of college, so we got married. I graduated from college in '83,
Okay.
and then we moved to the farm in '84. So
Luckily, he found a farm girl that loved the farm life. And we worked together, and we still do everything together.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how you came up. You grew up around here in Crofton?
Yeah, just 4 miles north of here.
Okay. And your family was farmers as well?
Yes. Yep. I have 4 brothers that farm in the area. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
way of life.
Yep.
So those early years, talking about, there was a farming crisis going on in the early 80s. I saw this sign, and it just says stuck with me, and it was in a cute little area, a nice little farm right down the road, and it said something to the effect of, behind every good farmer is a wife that has a job in town.
oh no,
Did you have a job in town?
I did. I
Yeah.
worked in publishing and for 10 years. Once our daughter was born in '86, I went part time. But I always came home. I
Yeah.
remember coming home from work and milking cows and going over to his brother's
Yeah.
place. But yeah, I had that job before we got married.
and that was the early years. We've been both self-employed
Wow.
ever since.
Yeah.
So I always like to joke, a farmer married an artist. There's two stable sources of income for you.
I did a lot of ad work, working for, the Missouri Valley Shopper, eventually the Weekly Observer paper, and then South Dakota Magazine, which
Okay.
is a wonderful publication. And
Yeah.
I got so much education there working. Had great mentors. Bernie Hunoff, I'm going to mention his name because he had a big part of helping me become, if I'm anywhere, as professional in anything. I learned it somewhere along the way. But yeah, and then we lost 2 children after our first daughter was born. But anyway, and that that's when Jeff just said, how about you focus on your art? And so I quit, my position in Yankton where I worked, and I started painting. And yeah, that's 30 some years ago. So a lot has happened along the way.
Well, and if anyone could see if they're watching the video, do you call this a mural?
Yeah,
Or
I
do you
call it
call
my
it-
largest painting. Really.
Okay, your largest painting is behind us. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I was looking at it earlier when we were setting up, and I was standing back here, and the sun was coming over, and I literally felt like that was actually the sun. So whatever you've
Yes.
done, like with the colors and the stuff, the way it reflects, totally felt like it was real.
It's hard to look at the sun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, and then you get some like vertigo or something because like, no, that's not east, that's west.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not the sun coming
Yeah.
up. No, it's a beautiful painting.
This is the Lewis and Clark Lake,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, when they approached me, I'm not sure how large of a picture they wanted or, a mural, but when I saw the whole wall and the whole pizza oven in the background, and then, it's like, hey, Lewis and Clark Lake, this is
Yeah.
our area. And so I wanted to personalize it all that way and
Yep.
come up with what it is, I
No,
guess.
it's beautiful, and if anyone's visited this area and has been on this part of the river, you recognize the cliff side, the South Dakota side, right away. You know exactly where you're at and what you're looking at. So.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to live close to such a scenic area.
Yeah.
What I paint is all surroundings, Everything I paint is pretty much a half-hour drive away.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, did you help on the farm?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you enjoy that, or?
Yeah.
Looking back on it, maybe you enjoyed it a little more.
She's like,
Well, that's the life. And
Yeah.
I was in the middle of 8 children, and my dad would call me his little farm girl, and that just inspired me to work harder. I
Yeah.
love nature, and even right now, I should be painting some of the orders and things that people want me to do, but I'm spending all my time out in the garden these beautiful days, and it's
Yeah.
spring, and we
Yeah.
just and we're really into soil health and
Yeah.
nutrition, and I want to grow my own food. And anyway, so sometimes I my priorities are elsewhere, but
Yeah.
I keep busy. I have a
Yeah.
gallery in my home.
Oh, sweet.
Travel to a couple shows in the summer.
When did
Yeah.
you decide that like artistry was your thing? Like, was that always part of growing up, or?
Yeah, I loved it always. I liked to draw, but growing up I had pretty much just pencil and paper and
Yeah.
my crayons. But I will share the story quick.
Yeah,
when I
please.
was 2.5, I broke my leg.
Okay.
And I had a cast on my leg. And I remember a little brother, he would have been 1.5. He was taking the crayons, and I did not want him taking my crayons, and he'd break them. Well, it was his crayons, too. And I stuffed them down my cast so he couldn't get my crayons. And I guess when they took the cast off, I said to the doctor, there's my colors. But I just know how important,
Yeah.
and I knew what those colors could do, and I loved it from little on. So always enjoyed it.
Interesting.
I enjoy a lot of things, though.
Yeah.
It's just fun to create stuff.
As far as business-wise, with her art, I like to call it a hobby gone wild a little bit. She started it for the love of it, and then we kind of turned it into a business.
Are you
So-
able to keep that like passion for it and stuff when you're doing it as a job, or as a specific request, as opposed to like something that just comes natural?
I thoroughly enjoy creating, and I'll be, and I do watercolor oils, and people will say, which one do you like better? And it's like, well, whatever I'm doing at the moment. And no matter what if you're creating something in the moment, you're totally enjoying yourself. The only thing I don't care for is I can't fill everybody's requests. Everybody wants something, and whether it's, paint my barn, my house, my dog, my bridge, my church.
It has to excite her before she'll paint it.
There's so many things. I'm inspired to do a lot, but it takes time. So that's my only regret.
So was this mural, or was this the biggest, or have you done bigger things?
No.
Normally you just do like paintings?
Yeah, I paint on canvas and paper in my home.
So this was a large request.
Oh, yes.
And how long did this take you?
It was COVID, and Joyce.
Yeah, she did it because of the person who asked. Yeah.
I couldn't say no. Plus, I knew how awesome Doug and Juliet worked on this,
This area.
I know. And it's like, well, this is something that will be enjoyed by so many. I love, like, prom time or whatever the event is. People will have pictures posted on Facebook in front of this mural. It gives people joy. And honestly, that's why you do anything, to give people joy. And with my artwork and going to shows, I always say the biggest thing is meeting people. It's the people. And I like to... I think it's a great excuse to meet people. Yeah.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as governing your time and doing what you enjoy. You really like to create. You said that a couple of times. Planting a garden or spending time on your yard, that's creating too.
Oh, yeah.
And Nebraska is one of these tricky states or areas where you get like 4 weeks like this out of the year, in the spring and in the fall, where you can enjoy sunrise to sunset, and we're right in the thick of it. So get out in the garden, enjoy it. Like I'm on board. I think I'm moving to Crofton. They're gonna bunk me up.
Hey, I already said that. So you're moving too? Okay.
We have a bunk in the shop.
Perfect.
We have a guest
All
house.
right.
There you go. I think what would make me so nervous about doing something like this, like you go through and you do all this beautiful work, and then I assume at the end you put your signature on it.
Yeah.
And I would be nervous right there. I'd be like, man, if I mess up this signature after all this work.
I started it, and it's like, oh my God, I'm making this way too big, but I was doing it kind of in proportion to the picture. It's like my name's really plastered over there in the corner.
I think you nailed it. It looks great. that would be where my head would be like, I've done all this work. This is so great. Now I'm going to screw up this little part right here.
Oh, and the 2020 date on there too.
Yep.
I got to put my date on here.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, that was kind of right in that COVID time frame.
Yeah, the COVID. I'd get up, like, say, what time in the morning would the sun not be shining on it? And then I could paint until the sun started blaring on it. And then in the afternoon, I could go back. But I live 3 miles from here, so it was nice to go back and forth. But I do know crawling on that roof on a Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
To blot in whatever.
Hot roof.
No, it was actually a cloudy morning, but that's when it worked. Anyway.
What was the time frame from start to finish?
Oh, I did it in a couple of weeks, probably 2 weeks.
Oh,
I know
wow.
homecoming was going on. I was painting when I could hear the homecoming parade.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were going to say a couple months.
No, I worked on it diligently to get it done because we were also in harvest. Harvest was I did a little book of my timeline because that year I did the pizza oven and then I stopped. This is at my home. I can't.
See, and this is
I
what
can't
I love
remember
about
for
this style of living. You're talking about a time where everybody was just staying home, maybe drinking too much beer, scrolling through, YouTube videos or whatever. You actually got backlogged. You got asked to do a couple more chores on top of harvest. It's just amazing.
We didn't have kids in school. And I didn't have a parent in a nursing home or dealing with any of that the really stressful things during COVID. That was really sad. So for me, it was like free sailing to do whatever.
Do you guys, you mentioned children, we touched on it a little bit earlier. You guys have one child? Or?
Our daughter, no, we have two.
Two, okay.
We had our daughter, Jenna, and then when she was 2.5, we had our Brittany, and she lived 5 months, and then we had sweet little Morgan that lived 3 months.
That's where the
And-
name connection is. Okay.
Yeah, I know. She was just as pretty as you, Morgan. But anyway, yeah, it was after that Jeff just said, start painting and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then, so 6 years later, our son, we got brave again because we knew it's a genetic thing. And they were born, our babies were born totally normal. We didn't know anything was wrong until our first one was 2 months old. And then we learned that it could happen again. It's an autosomal recessive called Werdning-Hoffman's disease or infantile spinal muscular atrophy. So their muscles slowly degenerated, but their brains were all there, and we could experience the joy of their short life, So anyway, it seems like everybody's got a story. Everybody's got something, and whatever inspires you. But in life, you take the path you're dealt with and live on faith and go out there and do what inspires you. So,
But meanwhile, we have a daughter in Salt Lake City.
yeah, she's and our son is, and then we had this wonderful son born that was healthy, and he's in
Yeah.
Rapid City. He just got
Yeah.
married. Our daughter has our first grandchild.
Oh,
I don't know if we were going to talk about the dam race at all.
Oh,
Are
yeah,
we
we're
g-
going to get there.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We got plenty of time.
Oh, that's why I'm trying to, we're supposed to remember when we wanted to tell them we do have kids.
Yeah. Our daughter she's a physician. She's an OBGYN in Salt Lake City, so she's got a busy life there with her husband and her little guy. And then our son,
Rapid City, South Dakota.
our
Yes.
son's in Rapid City.
Those are two really cool areas.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
My goodness.
Great to visit.
So
Yeah.
that's where we visit.
We're not complaining too
They,
much.
yep. And they have great recreation areas also, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Both places. Biking, hiking.
Fishing,
Yes,
both areas.
fishing,
Yeah,
yep.
cool.
Yeah, nice. So I want to talk a little bit about the farm and kind of what you guys have going on with that. So today, your operation, what do you guys have there? Is it strictly crops? Do you have livestock? How's that set up?
Okay, so I'll divide it into, we do have crops. Probably a third of the farm is to crops grown for seed production.
Okay.
Oats and peas and even soybeans. And then we usually have cattle on the farm year round, but we don't own any right now. I'll run cow-calf pairs for a friend in the summertime, and then as a result of the crops we grow a lot of cover crops, so we'll graze cattle on the crop ground all winter long.
Nice.
Then wildlife also loves it. And,
Oh,
and that's
yeah,
a
for
big
sure.
attraction
Yeah,
for
yeah.
deer in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Is the cover crops we have out there. So
So the farming operation, when you guys started, were you always in like this regenerative mindset, or is that something that's come about more lately, or it's kind of developed over time?
Good question.
it started as an economic necessity. That I went into no-till and everything, and tried to learn everything I could about it.
That was over 30 years ago.
Yeah, probably 10 years ago is when it came on our radar. I got involved with conservation statewide and things, and I got to realize that a lot of the things we were doing weren't sustainable, and it kind of led me down the path of how can I farm that's more perpetuate itself.
Yeah.
And the more diverse we get, it's just exciting how our inputs have went down, and we can grow all this cool stuff. And it just makes farming more exciting.
It does
what we're
feel
doing now.
sometimes like conventional farming methods, like you just kind of feel like you're eventually going to run out. It's like you got a tank of fuel and it's eventually going to run
Yes.
out. Like it's a race to nowhere. And that kind of feels like that's what you're talking about, is that you wanted to feel more like every single step you're taking is actually building this thing up and helping with the next step, as opposed to kind of using it. Does that make sense?
Right. We've gone from becoming an extraction business
Yeah.
to something that we think can perpetuate itself, understand the natural cycle. It was working awesome before we got here.
Right.
Before we
Yeah.
came to this
Settled,
land,
yeah.
it was a very productive system. Can we mimic that?
Yeah.
some way that
Yeah.
So we're back to trying to build the soil,
Yeah.
health of the soil, which is
we've gotten interested in biology, and Jolene's even taken courses on trying to understand it and how we can incorporate it into what we do.
And for you guys, it was like one good thing led to another, because like you mentioned it real quick there, the fallout to doing cover crops and things like that. You track a lot of deer, pheasants, turkeys, and if you're an outdoorsman, that's what you want.
And in some of the harshest times of the winter, my memory is always going to be waking up one morning. We have a window that looks out over the bottom, and there was some cover crop under the snow there. Mm-hmm. It was the only thing green in the neighborhood that time of the year. There was deep snow, and we counted. There was 52 deer laying within probably 100 yards of our bedroom.
Interesting. Yeah, there's so many benefits, and a couple questions that I have for you about it. But just a note, on the way up here, we're driving up here. We got about a 3-hour drive, and of course, we're driving through a lot of farm country. And we have recently got a couple pretty heavy rains where we're at, a little further south. I don't know if you guys have had that up here, but as we were coming up, everyone's kind of in planting mode, so the fields are very barren. And I'm just seeing the runoff, all like the fields, everything has trenches cut in it all down throughout the terraces.
you won't see that at our farm,
right? And you look at that, and you just inherently know something's wrong there, and it's certainly having a negative effect on the farmer's income and everything else that goes along with it. But yet we still continue to do it. But when you talk about the cover crops and those kinds of things, those are some of the things that you're trying to prevent or that you're helping with, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So what's exciting is, and you're talking about this runoff, and that is one of the major problems. We've been able to document you can increase infiltration by 10 times. I mean, that's not the natural way that water runs off. It's meant to infiltrate.
Yeah.
And come out as groundwater.
Yeah.
That's how our streams should be fed. So it's been eye-opening. And when you see those ruts, as far as that'll probably work for a lifetime. But we have to be thinking generations ahead.
Yeah.
How long will we be able to stay in that kind of soil loss?
For sure.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
probably better than most. I mean, I've seen some projections. It's like 50 years is what we got left, or 200 years is what we got left. Depending if you're in Illinois, Nebraska, Iowa, and what you've been doing. But there's, like you said, Ben, there is a finite timeline. If you're going to keep doing it this way, you're going to run out. Your topsoil's leaving you every
Look
year.
at the hills,
Yeah.
and the hills are all a nice little tan color,
Yeah.
and all the topsoils.
So, they
ditches.
estimate naturally soil can be produced like, I believe it's a ½ inch every, 50 years? Oh, now I shouldn't even brought that up, because all I know is it's a ½ inch compared to the acceptable soil loss right now is like 5 ton. And all we can expect every year you can produce a ½ inch.
Okay.
But if we're losing 5,
Sure.
that's not going to work. But what we're finding out is you can speed up that soil, actually producing soil.
I mean, but don't you find most people is it most? People aren't forward thinking like you guys, right? They're just in the now. They're not thinking about generations after. I mean, you want more people to be doing that, but as you said, Ben, you saw what's going on. Is that because they're just doing what they need to do, or is it the money? Like, is it hard to educate? Like, where is the fallout? Like, where are people not doing that?
It's tough financially, and when everything is that tight, there's the fear of, if I change, then I'm really going to go down the tubes.
It's been working,
You really have to have faith that in the end it's going to pay off.
Okay.
I feel like these conversations typically get into like an us versus them scenario, and that's not really what it is.
And I don't want it to be.
Yeah.
No, and a lot of people, they've got their equipment, they got their practices have been working.
Yeah.
And they're very successful.
Yeah.
It's to make that change.
I think a lot of it too is like the industry influence.
Yes.
Like, what is telling farmers what they should be doing, how you should be doing it. You need bigger equipment. You need more horsepower. You need all of these things to do all this stuff if you're going to make it. You need to be farming mass acres and
Definitely.
That's the story that's constantly being told.
So what I've been trying to tell is our story is we've raised a family on 500 acres without, other than the first few years, without an outside job. And I've had to the one thing I had in college was business, and I'm trying to document it and go, here's how the numbers work. You have to give back a little bit.
Sure.
On some years, on some fields, but in the end it'll come back.
Yeah.
And it'll be profitable.
And we don't want to have to depend on government insurance.
And I do all my analysis without government assistance.
Imagine that.
I don't. How many more podcasts do we want to do today?
Right. Real quick, Andy, before we go any longer, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Right on.